Oh, welcome in everyone back to Fantasy Farm Sports. I'm Jack Stache. Thank you for all the news, likes, subscribes, shares. That's all you guys. I show up, I try to deliver the best in sports news, and hopefully we can hit most of our bets. Player props really well yesterday. We hit the Bo Nix rushing prop pretty early. We hit the RJ Harvey. We hit the Shakir. We failed on the Buffalo victory. Look, that was a little tough. We hit on Seattle. I mean, we got question marks about that game as well, but we'll get to that. I guess we'll start with this, right? It's the great debate. You know, was that Brandon Cooks catch a catch? And if you guys are watching or see this on the replay, comment. Because I'm going to tell you right now, that's a catch in the NFL. And I don't know why they didn't slow it down. I don't know why they didn't review it. They had the ability to do so. Sean McDermott used one of his timeouts because he's a good coach, and he had some questions, and there were comments, and there were concerns, and it was a catch. Questions, comments, concerns, it was a catch. I know Broncos Nation didn't want it to be, but when you stopped and paused it, he had a knee down. He had his arms around it fully while the other player had one arm in there and he was touching the player. So Brandon Cooks was down, had his knee down, had another player touching him, and had possession of the ball. Right? Now, the defensive player landing on top of him, ripping the ball out of his hands and rolling over is a completely separate play. If you think about it, because the first play that happened was catch, down by contact. This whole surviving the ground thing is becoming insane to me, right? You have to survive the ground. Think about that. That's a rule that sounds like somebody that had like CTE come up with it, right? And they'll be asking Brandon Cooks later on in his career why that wasn't a catch, and he has to tell all of his friends that he didn't survive the ground. And then people are going to look at him like, he took too many hits to the brain. Took too many hits, too many whacks. He thinks you have to survive the ground. He's half crazy. He's not crazy. It's a term. It's stupid. It makes no sense. For our viewer out there, do you understand what surviving the ground means? Now, I forget who it was. Edison, Einstein, one of those brainiacs. But they said if you can't explain it, and it makes sense to a 6-year-old, you don't even really know what it is. So go explain surviving the ground to somebody. You have to hit the ground, and then you have to survive the ground and an opponent and all these other things. Surviving the ground's a bit ridiculous. You guys know it's ridiculous. And if it was your Broncos Nation will say it was clearly an interception. I get that. I understand. That's your team. It was the call that went your way. But if you pause the tape and you really take a look at it, he didn't just have to survive the ground. He had to survive the opponent's instant replay, a lot of other things on that play than just the ground. And it wasn't the only play that made the game. There were many other plays that took place, but it is the play that's being spoken about and talked about, right? That Monday morning, that'll be your water cooler conversation. Did he survive the ground? Did he it's very simple. He caught the ball, and then he hit the ground, and then someone was touching him, which makes him down by contact, and then that same person that was touching him stole the ball out of his hands. And it happened very quickly, but that's why we have instant replay, and that's why you go to instant replay in a play like this. It's a bang play. You want to get it right. I think if you reviewed it and you changed the play on the field, it'd be hard to argue against the fact that it was a catch, right? Catch. Yeah, it was a catch. All right. That's the first. We can pivot from that, and let's talk about this later game before we get to the games today. Brother, San Francisco's got a problem. I'm just going to straight out say it. That was not, San Francisco didn't lose. That was a beatdown. That was an embarrassment. We didn't even think you belonged on the same field. The flag should have been waved. in the first half. That white flag, San Francisco was beaten, battered, out-coached, outplayed, out everything. And it was really, 49ers fans, a lot of them, I have friends that are 49ers fans. And we got to sit down and we got to have a real conversation here. Or a comment, please, something, right? And I'll talk with Greg about this tomorrow. Shanahan, it might be time. It might be time because he's been in San Francisco for a while. And I know he's produced, but he hasn't gotten to the mountaintop and crested. Okay. And I know that Brock Purdy's a good quarterback, but if you have two capable quarterbacks, maybe it's time you just switch. I know Brock Purdy's your leader. He's your guy. He's running all over the place. But maybe Mac Jones saw something in that game that Brock didn't. If you have two quarterbacks that are very capable, why not? Mac Jones clearly has a better arm than Brock Purdy. He's got more zip on it. Brock Purdy can move better than Mac Jones. If you were to combine quarterbacks, they would be exactly what you wanted. But you can't do that here. You can't do that. So styles make fights. And I feel like Mac Jones may have been better for San Francisco's fight last night. He could have maybe zipped the ball in there better. I know they brought him in late and it was, hey, we're just going to play our backups the last 6 minutes of the game because this game has been pathetic since the first half anyway. All right, but the whole plan, the whole problem here, the reason why I'm arguing for someone besides Shanahan maybe to be leading the 49ers is you just can't lean on Christian McCaffrey. You have other players there that have talents, that have skills, you have to try and do something. And they weren't able to do and or muster anything. Now, again, if you don't think you have the talent, you already told the world that Brock Purdy can handle anything. Maybe you come out, right, and surprise everyone, every announcer, everybody. Start Mac Jones. You don't tell the media. You don't tell anybody. It's like Rocky fighting righty. He's a lefty, clearly, right? But if the Mac Jones things works and they're doing well, you stick with him. If not, and they're clobbering him, then you bring in the swift-footed, shifty Brock Purdy. I'm just saying these are things to consider. You lose 41-6 on national television. Your ass is going to be in my office in the morning. I can't believe how John Lynch is going to deal with that. There's no way he's going to be able to just let Shanahan just sit around and not stand up or say anything. He had no answer. He was out-coached, out-playered, out everything. I mean, you have to know how you're going to go into battle here. Every facet. Get rid of, okay, they only scored 6 points. Your special teams gave up the first touchdown of the game. Your defense looked non-existent. I can't believe the amount of people that are talking about, well, Robert Saleh's got job interviews tomorrow. With whom? Who's hiring Robert Saleh? He didn't do anything as the Jets coach, first of all. Then he's going to go clean up the Tennessee mess? They're talking about Tennessee and the Raiders and Miami. Why would you want Robert Saleh? He just gave up 41 points. Maybe not all on him. I understand that defense was banged up. But let's be honest here. Let's talk about this. All week long, this game, it makes me so angry. All week long, Sam Darnold, oblique injury. I don't know whether he coughed, some player shoved him to the ground, his wife hit him with their purse in the wrong. I don't know what happened to him, but he had an oblique injury. You don't try and hit him once. You don't bring a blitz. You might get flagged. What? So what? So what? Who cares if you get flagged? Throw Sam Darnold to the ground a couple times in the first half. Test that oblique. This is what we need to do here. Test it. Hit him. This is football. Drive him to the ground. Get a flag or two. It doesn't matter. You have to test and see if that oblique's good. Because if you get Drew Lock, maybe you got a shot. Your offense can't move the ball, and maybe neither can theirs. You got to do something, man. You show some fight. They quit in the beginning of the third quarter. It was embarrassing. You know, all these coaches, Tomlin losing their job, Harbaugh moving on to the Giants. I mean, Harbaugh didn't want to be kept by Baltimore, and Pittsburgh was willing to roll on with Tomlin. I'll tell you what, I've seen Tomlin in some bad spots. Injuries, inept quarterbacks that come into camp not in shape, lethargic, too many pizzas, 70 beers, and he still finds a way to get into the playoffs. And you might sit here and go, well, he doesn't have any playoff wins, no Super Bowl appearances after his victories. That's fine. You could go ahead and say that. But there's not a Mike Tomlin team that ever looked like they didn't belong in the damn playoffs. That 49ers, Kyle Shanahan-led team didn't look like they belonged on the damn field. That's all I'm going to say. 41-6. Nah, man, I'm very sorry. It's been nice having you, but this isn't working here any longer. I'd have a real strong look at people are going to want to hire Kyle Shanahan. Let him go. Let him go. Let them go and let them go hire him, because I eventually he's going to put a team on the field that looks like that. And that's going to drive me crazy. I can't listen. For as upset Buffalo Bills fans are about that catch that wasn't a catch that turned into an interception, those 49ers fans should be putting their heads through the walls that TV was on after that performance. I mean, I took the 49ers getting 28.5 and I lost. How about that? I took a playoff team where I thought was easy money getting 28.5 points, and they couldn't cover 28.5 against the division rival. Quit. Move on from them. I don't know what we have to do here, but all we seem to have figured out with the talent that we have is give Christian McCaffrey the ball 400 times. Any head coach could figure that out, I would assume. That's my 12-minute rant on those games last night. Let's get to some stuff that we have going on in the near future. We've got the Texans versus the Patriots today. The Patriots are favored by 3.5 or 3 points, depending on which sports book you're looking at, right? Hard Rock, DraftKings, they're all kind of maneuvering from 3 to 3.5. That's what you're looking at right now. Your matchup is CJ Stroud, starting quarterback for the Texans. I don't know if you'll see Nico Collins, but he hasn't had Nico Collins consistently through the whole season. So CJ Stroud, and to be quite honest, this Texans team has had a lot of adversity. It hasn't been CJ Stroud all year. It's been Stroud. It's been Davis Mills. It's been no Nico Collins. There's been a lot of different working parts. But the thing that's remained consistent in Houston is this defense led by Will Anderson. Will Anderson will knock your face off. He's got probably the biggest head I've ever seen in the NFL. He's got the head the size of a buffalo. And you know what? He's great on interviews, and he's articulate. He knows exactly what's going on. He's got the thumbprint of that defense. And he reminds me a lot. If you're looking for a team that could really run all the way, Will Anderson reminds me of Ray Lewis. And Ray Lewis, you can argue, had a great quarterback or a competent quarterback in Dilfer and Flacco. But CJ Stroud would fit that mold. And if they're going to go further and get past the Patriots, Houston has the defense to do so. Here's a little recap for you guys of what Houston's defense has done this year. They've gone to Buffalo. They won in Buffalo. They went to Arrowhead. They went to Kansas City. And I know Kansas City wasn't great this year. But when they went to Kansas City needed a win. Absolutely needed one. Houston beat the hell out of Mahomes. Ran him off the field. They did the same thing with Allen. They did the same thing with Herbert. Right, so on the road, here's Houston's resume. They knocked out Josh Allen. They knocked out Patrick Mahomes. They knocked out Justin Herbert. And I know that he's older now, but they just went to Pittsburgh last week, and Pittsburgh was very good. Up to the challenge, and by the fourth quarter, they wanted out. It's like being in the 9th round of a fight. How badly do you want to win? Houston's willing to go 15 rounds. And it's to me, that's interesting, because if you're going to go to battle with a team that's willing to go 15 rounds, I think 3.5 is a lot of points. And I know how good the Patriots are. I know how well they look at home. Here's my concern. Drake Maye is essentially in his rookie season. I know he played halfway through last year, right? But he's young. And I don't think that he could dominate games. For all you Patriots fans out here, you can argue with me. That's fine. I love the discourse. But you know as well as I do that Drake Maye looks good when the play looks good. When the play breaks down, he runs. But can he dominate from the line of scrimmage? Can he dominate? Can he dictate? Is Drake Maye there yet? I don't think he could dominate or dictate like Josh Allen. I don't think he's seen as much football as Bo Nix. I think he's a fantastic talent. He's going to be the guy. Drake Maye is a great quarterback. I love Drake Maye. But as far as when the play breaks down, can he dictate and dominate? I think Josh McDaniels has done a tremendous job showing him exactly the right looks. That's what I think. Houston's not going to do any of this. Houston's going to stand there with a club, and they're coming for you. How long are you going to deal with the Houston Texans, Will Anderson and company coming with clubs for you? Because that's what's going to happen all game long. Ramondre Stevenson can help slow them down, right? Travion Henderson, the run game, New England, those things that they do can help slow them down. But Houston will never lay the club on the ground. I want you to think about Pittsburgh, right? They bring Warren, they bring Gainwell, they bring physical football your way in Pittsburgh. Houston dropped them. And by the way, for all of his deficiencies and being an older player, I thought Aaron Rodgers dictated that game well last week. It just got to the point where Houston overwhelmed. Houston's defense overwhelms you like Seattle overwhelmed San Francisco last night. That's what I want you to think about here. And by the way, Brock Purdy dictates and knows more football than Drake Maye, in my opinion. That's his special gift. 3.5 points. We saw both home teams win yesterday. That's an anomaly. Usually it's favorite and then not. You usually see one upset. We saw no upsets. Denver was the favorite. I understand that when it went off, they were +1. But in the beginning of the week, Buffalo was the favorite. So there was a shifting. When they went off, Denver was the underdog. Seattle, both home teams won yesterday. And I'm going to take here's how I'm looking at game one. I think that Texans are coming with the club. I think CJ Stroud and Drake Maye, I think they're very close. CJ Stroud's seen more in football. I think he's got probably a better defense. By the way, huge information here. New England's cornerback, right? Their lockdown, shutdown cornerback, for which his name escapes me, but he's 6 foot and all of it. He's not playing today. New England's going to have to shift their defense. And by the way, Houston's got that really tall wide receiver in his rookie season. I think Houston, but here's another thing no one wants to talk about. Christian Kirk dominated last week. He was fantastic. 143 yards, 8 receptions, look fast. Maybe he can find another way to a decent role. 6 receptions, 70 yards. I haven't looked at the prop bets, but I do believe that Houston's going to bring a lot more than New England expects. And Houston's offensive line's good too. I'll take Houston getting points here. I like Houston get 3.5. I just think they're a well-traveled team. I actually think they could win. I think Houston could win this game. I know that we love New England, but they're a little bit young, they're a little bit inexperienced, and I just can't bet against Will Anderson. That's where I sit. That's where I sit. And if I wake up tomorrow morning and New England wins, then that's fine. But it's very hard for me to bet against this Houston team that walks in to everyone's building with a club every time and starts smashing, not asking questions. I'll take the Houston Texans. My next game, I've got the Los Angeles Rams against the Chicago Bears. And there's been a black market argument over here over the past week. You guys aren't privy to it. I've been seeing tons of it. I don't know if you've paid attention. But anyway, there's a coaching tree, right? It's the McVays and the LaFleurs. Just in case you're wondering. The McVays and the LaFleurs. I don't know. You know, I do know that the LaFleurs, the offense coordinator for the Rams is Matt LaFleur's brother. There you have it, right? And he's starting to get job, questions and whispers and all this other stuff. His brother's a fantastic coach. I like Matt LaFleur. He does a great job in Green Bay. They lost to Chicago. Ben Johnson wasn't very gracious in his victory, and he constantly talks trash. That's okay. I like a guy that talks trash. I like a guy that talks trash and backs it up. You just have to understand that as you keep talking, they'll keep coming. Right? So he played against Matt LaFleur. The Bears beat the Packers last week, and they beat Matt LaFleur, and they weren't very nice in victory. That's fine. Sean McVay got wind of that, and Sean McVay is old school. Shake hands nicely, tell the other guy you did a good job, and you walk on to your next event. Well, Ben Johnson's not necessarily that way, and McVay didn't like it. Sean McVay didn't like the way LaFleur was treated, and his brother didn't like it either. And so now you have this matchup. And it's great for guys like me, right? We get to talk about it. There's an underlying rift, right? But the players ultimately got to play. With that being said, here's the big problem. I know what the Bears are going to want to do. Bears are going to smash mouth tough. They're going to want to be, Chicago, right? Soldier Field, smash mouth, Kyle Monangai. DJ Moore will be there for it. Luther Burden. Caleb Williams showed a lot of fight last week. I like Caleb Williams, and Ben Johnson obviously will be geared up, but no one's going to guard Nakua. Ain't nobody guarding Nakua in that secondary Chicago. Matt Stafford knows what this means to his offensive coordinator because of how his brother was treated. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll take the Rams. The Rams are -4. They're favorites walking into Soldier Field. I think they're just going to come in here and lay one on Chicago. I do. I've wanted to look away from this argument, but I think Sean McVay is a hell of a coach. He's not an old coach either. He's young. He's got the pulse of this team. There are some coaches that are young, and it feels like they've been there too long. To me, McVay has remade the Rams in his image. And in being able to do so, he's got the pulse of this team. I do believe that he'll be losing LaFleur to a better opportunity for LaFleur down the road. But today is about today. And tomorrow I'll help you prepare for your next position and your next job in life. I'll take the Rams. I really listen, the Bears sometimes you bite off a little bit more than you want to chew. And I think that's what the Bears have done in this case. So, I'll take both. As crazy that both home teams won yesterday. So, all right, I'll take the Texans. I want some points. Okay, so I'll take the 3.5. I'll take Texans plus 3.5. And I will take the Los Angeles Rams on the money line. They haven't been great at covering all year. Okay. There was a misnomer early on in the year that they were great in covering. They were covering, and then, they weren't. They got disinterested in games. They can't do that here. That's the one thing that happened with Green Bay last week. They became disinterested in the game. They went up big. They started laughing, joking, blah, blah. Can't do that. I don't think the Rams will do that here. They know the history. LaFleur will keep them focused on what happened last week in Green Bay. So give me the Texans 3.5. Give me the Rams money line. Very sorry that the NFL could not get that call correctly for Bills Nation and Bills Mafia, but that was a catch. And the 49ers, boy, you guys might be looking for a coach after a 41-6 pathetic loss. I am Jack Stache. This is Fantasy Farm Sports. We'll catch up tomorrow, and we'll talk some more football. And you know, I just love hanging out with you guys. That's what it comes down to. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you